Hello and welcome everyone to Heart of the Matter, a broadcast series where survivors share their story, inspiring us to live the healthiest lives we can. I'm Susan Smith, your host. I want to remind everyone that heart disease is the number one killer of women, taking the lives of 1 in 4. 48 million women in the United States are either at risk or have heart disease. I share this statistic because my guest today, Jenny Nygaard, is a heart disease survivor. I'm so honored and pleased and happy that Jenny could be with me today. She's my friend and my heart sister, one of the first women I met after my heart attack. She was my nurse in the cardiac rehab where I attended and made a big impact in my life. So I have Jenny's bio. I'm going to tell a little bit about her before I ask her to tell you her story. Jenny Nygaard is a wife, mother, and grandmother to 3 beautiful granddaughters. She is a blissful newlywed, having married her first love 40 years after their first date. They make their home in Astoria, Oregon, with their 13-year-old Boston Terrier, Ella. Jenny has been an RN for 30 years, working across the Western United States in multiple specialties. She has worked in maternal child nursing, adult critical care, cardiac rehab, and ambulatory cardiac care. In her spare time, she has a multitude of interests and hobbies. She does volunteer work, reading, knitting, hiking, and cooking, in particular baking. One of her all-time achievements was winning a Grand Champion Blue Ribbon for her peach-glazed mango raspberry tart. I got to try that, Jenny.
I'll make it.
Okay, Jenny is a Women Heart Champion in the class of 2016. Won't you join me in welcoming my guest, Jenny Nygaard? Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Susan. It's so good to be here, and it's so good to see you again. It's been a little too long, and I'm grateful to be able to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you some questions in a moment, but I would like for you to tell us your heart story. Would you please?
Yeah, it's I back in 2004. I was travel nursing. I was a labor and delivery nurse then, and had just gotten married in 2002. And I thought I was living a dream, a blissful life. And one day I found out some news that just basically made my whole world seem like it was crashing down around me, and things weren't as they seem. And when that happened, I reverted back to something I hadn't done at that point in probably 10 years. But I bought a pack of cigarettes, and it's the first in my life that I was so absolutely bereft that I couldn't sleep. I couldn't concentrate. It was the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend in 2004. And I was fortunate to be off that whole weekend. This happened on Thursday. I believe it was 27th of 2004. And I wasn't to go back to work until the next Wednesday. So those days, the first 3 days, I just cried and didn't sleep and tried to figure out all the pieces that had brought me there, to make this thing that unfolded a reality. And when I smoked cigarettes, I also chewed mints. And I kept feeling like I had a mint stuck right here. So I kept trying to, get rid of it. Just right there. I was a labor and delivery nurse at the time. And Fast forward to 2006, on this very day 5 years ago, that led to my open heart surgery and coronary artery bypass. In between those times, I realize now that I was having either heart spasms, a heart attack, because that day forward, even as I emotionally recovered from this traumatic emotional event, I had cardiac symptoms suddenly. I had leg swelling. I had reduced exertional capability. I couldn't do what I did. The strangest thing that I had was a feeling of tingles in my shoulders. I felt like everywhere you would wear shoulder pads, I had pins and needles when I exercise uphill. And I love to start my walks going uphill for that downhill reward. And I didn't think too much of it. My legs swelling, I referred myself to a kidney specialist first and ran those tests. Kidneys were fine. I thought, okay. The general practitioner told me it was just a nurse syndrome, chronic venous insufficiency. But it happened right after that event, what I now recognize and now personally diagnose as Takotsubo syndrome. Because over those years from 2004 until 2016, my symptoms progressed. And I saw cardiologists. I didn't just pick and choose one doctor, but I saw cardiologists across the West because I was a travel nurse and living in different areas of the West. And I always had connection to very good, highly reputed cardiologists. And time again, I got a basic workup because I was only, I was still in my 40s and 50s, and everything else about me was healthy at that time. No real known family history. And those pins and needles, walking uphill, eventually progressed to pins and needles all the time, walking downhill, uphill, without regard for the terrain, and eventually came with shortness of breath. And by the time I was due by the time I had my CABG, my coronary artery bypass graft, I'd seen a total of 3 prominent cardiologists, had workups up to a virtual angiogram, not an actual angiogram. I never had an echo stress test. I never had an exercise stress test. I didn't know what I didn't know then. I was a labor nurse. So in the about 3 years leading up to my open heart surgery, my symptoms were so bad that if I were out dancing, I couldn't dance through one entire song. And what really gave me pause was 2015 at the hospital Christmas party, which I used to shut down. Was the last person on this dance floor begging the DJ to play one more song. As I couldn't dance through one song. And if I was dancing with someone who wanted to twirl and I raised my hands up, then I was absolutely gassed. I couldn't get my breath back. And by this time I was working in a medical group management, and a girlfriend forced me to see a cardiologist for a stress echo. And I objected because I was actually the supervisor of that clinic, and I didn't want to mix business and my health. Live in a small town, so there weren't a lot of other choices, and I'd seen cardiologists. I'd been down that path. I just thought I was older and out of shape. Mind you, I couldn't walk from one building to the next, well less than a quarter mile, without being so short of breath and red in the face that it would exhaust me for the day. So this friend got me on the cardiology schedule, and I went, well, if it'll make y'all happy. And that echo stress test was suspicious. So the cardiologist that I was working with, work-wise and as a patient, sent me up to a large medical center in Portland, where I had an angiogram on April 15th. And this is 2016. And after I was in the recovery room, and the cardiac interventionalist introduced me to a surgeon, and he said, well, it's not emergent, but you have a 100% occlusion of your left anterior descending coronary artery, and we want you to come back for open heart surgery. And I was shocked. I was just floored. I just can't even describe this overwhelming surprise, because I'd been told, that my heart wasn't involved. I'd been told I had anxiety, GERD, asthma, all these other symptoms that I told myself it wasn't my heart, and I blamed myself for just getting out of shape. So I thought, well, okay, it's not emergent. And this is May. I have a trip to Palm Springs planned. A grandbaby's coming next month. I think I can enjoy the summer and come back this fall. And I asked them if I could do that. And they said, oh, no. You're coming back Monday. And that just sent me overwhelming. I said, well, if I'm okay now and it's not emergent, why so soon? And the PA, the physician's assistant that was with the surgeon, said, because you are lucky you haven't had a big fat heart attack and died already. Okay, reality was starting to hit me. By this time, I had worked a while in adult critical care with lots of heart patients, and I had a much better understanding of heart disease, but I was still not picturing myself as a person with heart disease. So that day saved my life, and I'm 5 years out today from my coronary artery bypass graft, where they were able to graft my LAD, that left anterior descending, the big coronary vessel that feeds the left ventricle. And I'm so grateful, and grateful to be here.
Happy anniversary, 5 years.
Thank you.
When I heard this entire story, I realized that you did not have a heart attack, correct?
Not that I know of, and it's never showed on the EKG. So in retrospect, what I think it was Takotsubo.
Right.
And then, corollary beginning of heart disease, a little heart failure from that.
Right.
And, my cardiologist, I posed my theory to her, and she said, probably, doesn't matter today.
Well, it's helpful to you to put that puzzle piece in there
So true.
because you had the traumatic incident, you had the cigarettes, you had the pins and needles for those, I totally get that. Well, that is such a story, and I'm so pleased that you shared that with us. Thank you. So I want to ask you a few questions. You've told us that you were shocked and surprised. What other emotions did you feel after your procedure?
Oh, after my procedure, I felt so improved. It was day and night. It took about 2.5, 3 months to get where I was able to operate at the same capacity I did before. Well, it was 3 months later I went back to work, and I used to take the elevator just to do one floor because I couldn't recover fast enough to do my job. So I looked at the stairs when I got back to work and said, let's try this. I was able to take them 2 at a time. And I started going from the ground floor to the third floor where my office was regularly, and it was such a relief. My fingers and toes were no longer freezing cold. Um, right after my heart surgery, my hair's bugging me. Right after my heart surgery, I could hear my heart. I could hear it beating. And then I felt like it was thanking me for finally giving it circulation. Um, I remembered the times about a month before my surgery, a month before I had my angiogram. I I woke up to my heart clanging in my ears as if there were cymbals every heart beat, and I feel like it was my heart really trying to tell me that it was in trouble.
Wow.
And I just felt so renewed, um, so hopeful, so a little rough. History. It had been a decade since I'd been able to exercise, and I felt like I had lost time because of lack of a good diagnosis.
Right.
And that's how I came to be a women heart champion. Someone asked me if I would be interested in helping other women, and I didn't want another woman to have to endure misdiagnosis, failure to diagnose, um, do those diagnostic tests just
Right.
because she didn't look like the typical picture.
Right.
There weren't clear correlations like family heart disease. Um, uh, I had a very active, fit lifestyle.
Right.
But
That
you
happens.
can't live
Yeah.
with that kind of anger and regret. I had to let that go and just be in the joy that it was to be able to have a circulating uh, heart muscle that's fed with blood. So,
It's such a that's got to be a really elating feeling, and you felt the joy of it. Your heart was happy for the first time in a decade.
yeah.
So, two more questions. Did you make any lifestyle changes afterwards?
Yes, I did. I made huge lifestyle changes. Was um, uh, I graduated cardiac rehab, and I was able to uh, renew my love of movement and exercise, and of course, diet. And I wish I could say, I had that same commitment to diet today. As a matter of fact, this morning I made a renewal night to myself. These are hard, lifelong changes, but I still enjoy low sodium, mostly produce and lean meats. I love to bake. I don't do that very much anymore. It's seldom because I'm an addict.
Okay. And then my last question is this. What advice would you give women about
Mhm.
heart disease?
Listen to your body, especially when it sounds like clanging cymbals in your ears. It shouldn't have to take that much. And learn everything you can so that you can be your own best advocate. Um, I sometimes think what might have happened earlier if I had refused to take, no, it's not your heart, it's asthma, for an answer. Um, but but let yourself live your best life.
Yeah.
Um, let go of the stressors. I made a lot of major changes in my life after that. And part of the reason that, I was open to renew my first love and um, be a newlywed in that now. But
That's so
really
wonderful.
sort out wheat from the chaff in your life with stressors.
That's excellent advice, and I so appreciate your sharing that with us. Well, I'm going to close for now, Jenny. If you sit tight, we can talk afterwards. I'm going to say goodbye to our audience. Thank
Seriously.
you all for coming, and we'll see you next time. And Jenny, thank you again. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.